going into next week, there's something that you might want to keep an eye on, and that is the Fib Time relationship of the market right here. And what I mean by that is, you can see we're in a correction, okay, just like this correction. So most of the time, we're going to get a relationship that is the 618 and the 382 portion of the correction. I'm not talking about the retracement level. I'm really looking at the duration of the correction. So if we look from this high to this high, okay, you'll see how that's smaller than this high down to this low, right? So this is what's considered the 382 portion. This is the 618 portion. Okay, so if you add both of those together, it equals 1. Okay, so looking at this correction, okay, so far we've had multiple waves, and if we bring over the 618 portion of the trade, okay, which is this high to this high, that's the 618 portion. This is the 382 portion, okay, or we are currently in the 382 portion. Okay, the value of knowing that or looking at the charts in this way, the 382 portion is usually much quicker and more violent. Okay, you can see over here in this example, this candle here is much more violent than any other candle in this correction. Okay, so coming off of this high, and then we have that big move, and then we find support, and we correct back up. Okay, so the point of that is technically the last wave up, or the last wave of the market, is up. So this is corrective. Okay, and this is where how we teach it, we're never trying to pick the top. Okay, we might have upper targets to say this level is not a good level to go long, this is a good level to look to exit your long. But exiting your long does not mean it's a good short. Okay, unless you want to trade counter trend, which is higher risk. And even if we're trading counter trend, we still don't try to catch this bar. Okay, so looking at this, I know this is an obvious low right here. Okay, that everyone is watching. Knowing this, that we're in the 382 portion of this trade, okay, most likely right now, of course this could develop into something much bigger, and really this was the 382 portion, okay, but that's low odds of that happening. Okay, especially since we have this big bar down and we follow through all the way back down to this low. What that means is this is an obvious low. Okay, if we break it, okay, everyone's going to try to jump on short. The odds of it coming down, breaking hard, and then pulling back up are very high, okay, because that's probably going to end the correction. Doesn't mean that we can't pull up and ultimately fail and come over here, but as far as this leg, we would not use this level as a swing trade entry to go short. Okay, even if this was a 3-minute chart, we wouldn't use that as a trigger to go short. Now, we always break it down to a smaller time frame for the entry, so technically could we break this down to a 60-minute or a 10-minute to try to enter here if we were already thinking to go short? Yes, but just looking at this chart, obvious levels are usually taken out quickly and then it reverses. That's where a lot of traders go, oh, if I would have just done the opposite, I would have made money. Well, the opposite of shorting here would be going long, okay, which we're not going to go long on a break of this, but we're looking for support right down here, okay, because technically from this high, if we do come down to this low, it's still corrective, okay. Patterns can fail, and this could be a trigger and we fall down to here, but that would only occur 1 out of 10 times. Okay, the chances of making only one leg down is very low. Okay, even if from this low we don't take out this high and we do end up lower, most likely there would be a correction to that. So just be aware of that, and when you go back on your charts, know that that timing, okay, that 382 and the 618 portion, there's that ratio, and then there's also just 50 and 50 to equal 1, which that is where you look at a chart and it's a 1-to-1 type measured move. Okay, so looking back at this correction, this is from this high to this high, that's the 382 portion. From this high down to this low, that's the 618 portion, the bigger portion. So the first leg of the correction, or the first sequence in the correction, okay, because sometimes it's multiple legs to be equal to first corrective leg. It's that first basically move down, okay, in an uptrend. If it happens very violent and very quick, okay, like it did over here, know that the actual turning point, okay, of the pattern in the correction might take longer than you might think. Okay, and that can be beneficial, especially on a 3-minute or a 10-minute, so you're not entering too early, okay, and maybe taking a loser before it actually takes off, okay, which it takes off from over here. So this was the low of the correction. This is the beginning of the up move. So I know a lot of people look at this chart and they say, that's the beginning of this up move, but we don't look at it that way. Over here is the beginning. This is our long signal here for the major wave. Okay, these would be minor waves. Okay, so something to think about. We'll watch and see what happens. From right here, we could pull up before we come down to this level. Or if this level does hold, we break this high, then this last correction pattern fails and we make a new high. Pretty low odds of that happening from right here, but I have a feeling, going into Monday's Open, probably be very emotional at this area. So maybe have a little short squeeze for the first 2 to 3 hours, and then ultimately roll back over here on Tuesday. We'll see what happens, but watch when it breaks this low. If it does, what happens here? And obviously we could be wrong because we're doing this ahead of time, and it always can be that 1 out of 10. Okay, but we really try to trade what occurs 9 times out of 10. So we'll see what happens, and go back on any time frame and look at the corrections and try to pick up on the bigger portion and the smaller portion, and look what occurs in the smaller portion. That's when you get the bigger moves that seem like they come out of nowhere very quickly.